Alright, hello everyone. Theodore Burns here for week number 4 of the Formula Sprint walkthrough. This week we are at the Road Atlanta short track. Sorry no video last week, week 3 with holidays, and I actually don't own Donington Raceway, so couldn't make a video then. So some exciting news since last time. I have picked up a set of load cell pedals over the holiday. So as opposed to using the old Thrustmaster potentiometer pedals, so that is a new addition. I installed them yesterday and have probably about 6 hours on them so far, so I still have a lot of learning to do. So if you notice my braking is a little bit different this week, that may explain that. So I still have a long way to go, especially with the trail brake on them, but I feel I've done pretty well so far. So anyway, down to business. This week I ran a 50.152 so far on Monday night. That's the second fastest practice time, just a couple hundredths off of Graham Carroll's fastest time. But I have seen some 50.0s in the races, and I'm sure we'll get down into the 49s at some point this week. So without ado, here's one lap around the track. Alrighty, so as you can see, there's one lap around here. I would say in this track there's really only two really important corners, really only three corners that really matter and take a whole lot of skill. So I think we can buzz through this pretty quickly here. So 6th gear coming down the front straight. Now here at Road Atlanta, we're going to have the support paddock end over here on the left-hand side. You see that wall end, and where this line starts to pick up, you know, sometime after that wall ends, when we're going to want to start turning in into the corner here. Now we're still flat out in 6th gear, and we're actually going to drive the car pretty much all the way down to the exit here. Now this is a pretty similar technique used in almost any car here at Road Atlanta, especially the Formula cars. So we're going to drive it all the way down to the apex. You can ride quite a bit of this curb. I need a little bit of a lift coming around. I think you can probably take this flat if you have just the right approach on hot tires, but I like to use a little bit of a lift. It's more consistent every single time, only down to about 25%, kissing that curb on the right-hand side. And I like to shift down into 5th gear coming up the hill here. I find it helps me keep the revs up and accelerate up. If I'm in 6th gear, I start to bog quite a bit. Quite a bit of steering angle, but I get right back to throttle right away because the car is going to catch, and I don't have to worry about coming over here onto the curb on the left. So we're going to play through here corners 2 and 3 because I feel like it's important to kind of string this first couple bit of corners here all together. It's a really flowing section of track. So I'll see a lot of people take a really wide line here, way over to the right-hand side of the track, coming up here into turn 2 as you crest up over the top of the hill. And I've been told by a lot of pro drivers in real life that you really want to stay, you know, middle of the track to the left and try and make this as straight as possible, because corner 2, it's not actually that much of a curve, especially if you look at it on the track map. So you don't want to be sweeping into this, especially because we're carrying a lot of speed and we have to do quite a bit of braking at the top of the hill. So I'm going to turn in pretty early, but starting from the middle of the track, and I want to get the car nice and straight as we get to the top of the hill here. Heading towards kind of the thicker tree line. There's not really any good sight lines here to line up for the corner, you know, try and find the apex. It really drops off, and it's sitting low in one of these Formula cars. It's really hard to find. But if I'm getting the left side tires over here real close to this curb, I know that's a good idea. If I get the left side tires over onto the grass, then I usually end up spinning and ending up somewhere, you know, not on the track. So you see, I'll start my braking. I'll start my braking here as the left side tires come up to this, as I keep the steering wheel in pretty much a straight line. Once I meet the curb, that's when I'm going to start my braking here. Now I'm already in fifth gear. I'm only going to come down into fourth, and once the curbing ends, I want to start turning into the corner immediately, even though I can't really see where my apex is, and I don't really ever because the nose of the car blocks it. But I'm going to be coming in here and trying to hop over this curb as much as possible. You get quite a ways over it without picking up a 1x, and you can still pick up a 1x before actually getting a slowdown penalty way over here. But for sake of this, we want to keep it nice clean lap. So we're going to ride over quite a bit of the curb. If you go a little bit more over, you get the four wheels and you get the full hop. It may upset the car a little bit, but if we just ride the two wheels over the right-hand side, keeps it nice and settled, and we don't slide out here too much. And this is where it's really important to get that turn done early and have an early turn in into that corner so that you're not trying to get all your turning done over here as you're running out of road really quickly. So because I had the early turn, I'm able to catch the car pretty quickly. And notice I'm back on full throttle pretty much by the time I've hit that curb, and especially once I've landed and know for sure that the rear of the car is stable. And from there, I'm just going to hug the curb around to the left here on turn 3, and that's the first 3 corners. So I'm going to play back through that section there one more time in real speed. Next section coming up down the hill here, not a whole lot to talk about. It's just staying really smooth, trying to get some early turn-ins. You want to keep the wheel as straight as possible, so just being really smooth, straight on the wheel. Get close to the curbs, you can kind of ride over them, but it just kind of upsets the car. You kind of lose some momentum. You want to carry as much speed as possible, again, as much speed as you can down this hill. So I'm going to get nice and close to these curbs here, but keeping the wheel as straight as possible. So now coming up here as we turn to the right onto the short course portion of the track, I'm looking for this curb here on the right, and I want to get really close to right here where it juts out, and this is kind of my apex for this whole section here. You can ride over this no problem, but I don't want to actually ride over it because it upsets the rear of the car and I lose a little bit of momentum as I come into this uphill section here. So I want to get the right side tires really close to that, but not actually hit it. And notice I stay full throttle this entire time. It's just nice smooth steering, and I'm going to try and end up middle of the track here, and I want to keep the line nice and tight, at least middle of the track, kind of where the groove is a little bit worn in, over to the right-hand side of the track here, just so I'm not losing speed in this long right-hand corner. Keeping it down right here on the edge. As I come up to rejoin the straightaway, there's going to be a little bit of a kink in there, so I kind of widen my line just a little bit to keep my hands nice and smooth as I rejoin here through the transition. Any second now. Through right here for this section. I want to be careful not to hit and spin the tires on the grass. And that's that. I'll play through that one more time in real speed, but it's pretty self-explanatory. It's full throttle, flat out, just smooth steering the whole way through. So after 6th gear through there. Yeah, that's getting into 6th gear before that uphill corner is very important. Sorry I didn't mention that earlier. So it's right about that time you hit that apex to go onto the short course. That's when you want to shift up into 6th gear, so you can carry the higher gear through there. If you're down in 5th, you're out of the engine's power and torque range, and you actually lose a bit of speed up through that corner. So, coming down end of the straightaway, I'm going to be driving completely past the 100 board, as many of you may have found out so far this week, and I don't have a really definitive braking marker, but I'm looking for, there's a couple white lines that go across the track here. There's this first one, and there's a second one up here right before the start of the curbing. So I'm going to drive completely over the first one, and as I'm approaching the second one, when I'm about, half a car width away, once the line gets to about the front of the car, that's when I'm going to hit the brake. So I'd say anywhere in between those two white lines is a pretty safe braking zone. So here I go. It's extremely heavy braking because we're coming downhill as it flattens out. And we're going to try and trail that off. I'm going to come down to 3rd gear and turn into the corner, trying to carry quite a bit of trail brake. And I want to turn in really early into, I like to call these 10A and 10B like on the full course. and use all of the curb here, get the car completely over towards the grass, and have an extremely late apex. You want to turn in really early for this corner because 10B right here, you want to try and be full throttle to this because this corner right here, you have a little bit of uphill stretch, and then it's the entire front straightaway. So 10B is extremely important to set up. So you don't want to overshoot 10A. And try and gain time in 10A is not a good idea because you'll lose time in 10B if you don't have a good line set up for it. So I want to be way over left-hand side of the track. So I get quite up to full throttle, and then I do just a little lift real early here as I come into 10B. Just a little lift, only down to about 50% as I'm getting up here on the curbing. You want to try and get the right side of the car on that curbing as much as possible, and then it's back to full throttle, and just really work it out and watch yourself on the exit on the left-hand side there. Don't want to ride too far over these rumble strips. If you get the left side tires into the grass, it's really just spin out and end up here in the wall as you come over through turn 11. So that 10B is extremely important to get that good exit so we can be full speed through here into turn 11. Turn 11, coming up under the bridge, we have these nice flag right here, or colored markers, whatnot. You want to be angled to the right as you come through here, as many of you probably know already. Drive the car right under there. Watch the right-hand side of the track as it comes up real fast here for the pit entrance onto the pro course. And now coming down the hill here, I don't want to swing it too wide. I want to try and stay, middle of the track to the right-hand side of the groove. If I start swinging it too wide, I'm just losing time coming down the hill. But I want to turn it straight down the hill and, gain as much momentum as I can on the downhill. And especially with this car, we don't really have to worry about a great setup for turn 12. We have a lot of downforce. It's just flat out all the way through here, so it's just staying nice and smooth on the steering, getting right up to that curb, but not really hitting it. You don't want to upset the car, break the rear traction, whatnot. Same story as around the rest of the track, and it's just really flat out and real smooth all the way down across the line. So bring us back to the back straight there. We'll go through 10A, 10B, and all that end of the lap in one more time in real speed. Alright, and so there we have a 50.152 lap around Road Atlanta Short Circuit. So thanks again for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this week's video, and look forward to seeing you out there on track, as always. So hopefully help some of you out, gain the last couple tenths or hundredths there, and improve your times out there. So thanks for watching, guys. See you around.